Greetings, comrades. I am Admiral Andre. Welcome back at long last to the next episode of our career with the Breaking Ground DLC. Well, comrades, I have missed you all. And I've missed KSP as well, because I really haven't had a chance to play since the last episode that I recorded. Just because it's been so hectic here, I might have, play for 5 minutes in my own personal career save, which is not even as far along as this one is, and then back to work again. And like that, so no real in-depth playing has happened since, when was it? Early last week. Anyway, time is becoming all a blur to me now. But anyway, I am back again, comrades, and I'm happy to say that my lectures were, I think, a success. Students seem to like that very much. And yes, so I will tell you a little bit about that. I'm not going to bore you about this, but I will say that some interesting people were there, including officials from our Department of Science and Technology, some people from our space agency as well, because this course is really more for professionals. It's a master degree course or program, but this exact course that I was lecturing in is a part of that, and so it's really an introductory kind of thing about space and society. And there's really no other course like this in the country, so lots of people, professionals, come to this course and learn about space. And then there are more technical courses as well that deal with satellite building and programs and simulations of things, etc., etc. I have nothing to do with that side of things though. But anyway, and I will say also happy news now, just as I was loading up the game, the head of our South African National Space Agency added me on LinkedIn, so that's a good thing. Anyway, not going to bore you with that. Let us go and just have a look at something very quickly before we jump back into the game. Right, comrades, this is one of the slides in my presentation. This is just about the outline of the lecture. So I was talking about the outcomes of my particular talk. There was a dedication to my mother as well, because it was her birthday on Friday, and she passed away in 2017 when I was taking this course, so I made mention of that. I gave an overview of the study that I did with my boss, the lady from Europe, and that was all about the African space arena, and then also the African international space ecosystem as a whole, and then various member states from the African Union, their infrastructure, activities and capabilities with relation to space. And I have to say the students like this because unfortunately, like in anything, you have different, this is now going to be my international relations scholarship background speaking, but you have different kind of hegemonic blocks. So in our course, one of the hegemonic blocks is led by the leader of the program, or the head of the program, who is now actually working in the USA. So he left his post at our university. And his goal is to bring in as many American lecturers as he can. Now, unfortunately, it's great and all, but the students themselves did say they would love to see more about Africa, because obviously they are working in this African space sector. And so the other hegemonic or counter-hegemonic block within our course is led by my boss, who is another lecturer in the course. And so she is pushing to include more African speakers and more African information in the course, which is more relevant for everyone taking it. So it's very interesting when you look at these blocks. It's, who was it, Antonio Gramsci, who spoke about that. His prison notebook was about the hegemonic blocks and the counter-hegemonic blocks. And coming from that background, I see that kind of dynamic everywhere. It's just so interesting. In my previous job, you also saw that. Anyway, let me just have a look what else is possibly interesting here for you. Right, so without going into all the details here, the outcomes of this lecture were just to gain an overview of Africa's most notable space actors and the space sector growth poles within the continent, and a better understanding of the major African space initiatives and activities. In other words, the broad African international space ecosystem. Maybe I'll do a video on this at some point for the channel. Maybe that will be interesting. Let me know what you think. At any rate, comrades, this is another example of what I did in this presentation. I like blended learning. I also have a background in e-learning, so with using digital tools and technologies to support learning. And that's what my second lecture was about. I'll show you that in a moment. But these are the regional economic communities of Africa, and this was a big component of our structure in this study. And so I did things like I included little speeches of myself here in the slides, which link to YouTube. That's all unlisted videos, so you can't see them. But the point here was, because I know in 1 week this course gives you something like 22 lectures, and you're packing the whole semester's lectures into 1 week. And the reason our course does this is because, like I said, most people are professionals. They have to travel from even far away to attend the week of lectures, so you want to make it as short and as powerful as you can before they head back home. So anyway, what I thought about, because I learned this from experience, if you take the course and you have so many lecturers in a week, then eventually when you have to prepare for your exam and your group assignments and so on, then you've forgotten a lot of it already. So I included me talking about some of the main points in the slides, and because it's linked to YouTube, they can actually, when they get the PDF of the slides, they can still access it. So I thought that was a good idea. I'll show you an example here. So why did we place such a large focus on the various regional economic communities in terms of space? The RECs are the key organs of the African Union. Of course, we know them. I don't need to list them here again, but the study made use of these RECs in the analysis of African space, etc., etc. So that's basically just to give them a bit of a refresher. Right, so here is another one where I spoke about, obviously the study that we did also went in depth into the various political challenges in Africa, but obviously the students already know all about this. So I was just speaking about some of the African responses to that, for example, NEPAD and the APRM, the African Peer Review Mechanism, Agenda 2063, the key flagship project of the African Outer Space Strategy, various 10-year implementation plans, with the final point here that the products of space technology are no longer a matter of luxury and access must be sped up. So then I would give us a small little speech here about Agenda 2063, but I wasn't playing this in class. This is just again a reminder for them later on. At any rate, the second lecture that I gave was on the role of educational technologies in space education in Africa, and you can also see this is the University of Cape Town, and the particular department that gives this course and these lectures is the Space Lab, which is in the engineering department. But anyway, so the various things I spoke about here, and this was actually a shared lecture with another colleague of mine from another university, where we spoke about growing a cadre across generations in the space sector in Africa. And so we discussed various points about that, as well as then the African space education ecosystem, which we published a book chapter about. And in that same book was a chapter of the head of the South African National Space Agency. So that's where he knew me from. So we published in the same book. So that's a good thing always. So anyway, I'm not going to go into this. I might do a video, as I said, in depth more on the channel at some point if people are interested. But we were basically looking at how space technology can support the various goals of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations in Africa, in alignment with the Agenda 2063, which is a continental policy for the period up to 2063, as the name suggests. So anyway, it was a really interesting thing, and it was very well received. As I said, the students were excited to see more about Africa because, as I said, there's this block within our course and within our department, basically, that's pushing for more foreign lecturers and so on, because this person is trying to make connections for himself, you know. But at the end of the day, we still want to keep the focus here, while still obviously teaching people all about the various space agencies and programs around the world, but not making that the main focus. So anyway, back to the game, comrades. Right, let's just have a look at our master plan to begin with. And forgive me, my voice is still going to be a little messed up because I was at that class for the whole day, because it's a series of lectures in one day. So it's not just a class and then see you next week. So it's a whole story in one day. Anyway, so let's see. We did launch the two-person craft last time. We also still have to do the lunar orbiter missions. Maybe we'll do that today. Let's see if we can, or what missions we can do. I also have to remind myself of everything because so much has happened since I played last time. It's all fuzzy. So anyway, we did that. We didn't do the extended duration for the spacecraft yet. It was purely to do a rendezvous, which is where we rescued Simone. So at least that I remember. And anyway, this is obviously not a comprehensive plan. This is just the things I could take from Buzz Aldrin's Space Program Manager, which of course is only focused on the space race. So we'll be departing from this plan very soon. Anyway, back to the game now. Right, so here we are. It's a bright sunny day on day 139 of year 1. And we have a healthy budget. I want to see what our missions are. Oh yes, Albert I'm not going to rescue. I remember that now. Right, explore the moon. We have to orbit and then return from an orbit. So possibly we can do the first step of that now, using an orbiter program. Oh yes, now I remember all of these missions around the moon for temperature scans. Alright, we'll do this today, comrades. This will boost our budget very well. I should just say, right before I started the recording, I also added another mod because I still don't know when the next update of KSP is coming. You can never predict that sort of thing. And of course, since the last time I recorded, there's been the huge hype of KSP2, which was a huge surprise to me, and I was very happy to see that. But anyway, we'll see how things unfold with that. It obviously can't come soon enough, but I was thinking, because it focuses so much on the next generation technologies, possibly by the time we get a little later in this campaign, or actually a lot later, we can start including near future technologies. I've never played with that mod before, so it should be interesting as a bridge towards KSP2. But anyway, for now I added a mod called that Stockalike Space Station Parts expansion. So we haven't unlocked any of that yet, or have we? Oh, there's one, the Pier Station Core. So I'll pay the $14 million to develop that. So luckily there was no other one, so it's a perfect time to include that mod. Oh, there's actually more here. Various crude tubes and things. I'll pay this as well, 19 million, and another 5 million for the cargo containers. I don't know what this can hold, but we'll have a look at that. So anyway, just be aware of that. Now, more coffee, comrades, more coffee. Can you believe the day of my lecture I had no coffee? Because I was out of supply, and well, that's not good, hey? So there you see the new space station core. We can make like a very small micro station at some point, but obviously that's not the time for this yet. So I think the goal is now to build a small satellite that we'll place in orbit of the moon. Now, what does this need? I think we only have to do temperature scans. Oh yes, we've already done the flybys, so I don't need to put other science on here. So we do need a transmitter, but actually I want to make things look interesting again. What do we have in terms of that? It's a pity I don't have the panels yet. I like to build triangular shapes and all sorts of things, not always the same. Here's a pressurized crew tube, but I'm not going to use that. What about something like that? This could be interesting. Let's make it a gold foil, because it has to operate in space for a long time. Then move this part up. Oh yes, it doesn't look very nice. Well, just like that, so at least it looks like it's built into the thing. Then we'll fill this with fuel. Now what can work for this? Pity we don't have the smallest tank yet. Well, unless we take it like this, the thing will be built into the fuel tank. Right, anyway, we'll come back to that in a moment. I just want to think now, what do we need to include on this? Lots of battery power, obviously. So obviously this is a structural element here, so I can fill this with other things like batteries. Yes, let's not clip it all the way in. That looks nice. Anyway, how was your week, comrades? I'd like to know how things are going with you, especially since we haven't spoken in such a long time now. Right, extend the antenna. That's going to give us good reception from the orbit of the moon. And actually we don't even need one like this. Let's use a smaller one. That's fine. If we look at a second level DSN, then I think we're on a second level. That gives us 158 megameters, which is million meters. That's 1,000 kilometers. So 150,000 kilometers. The moon is 11,000 kilometers away from Kerbal. So that's an important thing to note there. Now we're going to need a temperature thing. That's all, really. So a thermometer. Should I add two? Actually, let's put it on this side. There, we'll say it's for redundancy purposes, so we include the main one and then a backup. Then if we look at the vacuum, this gives us 1600 meters, but way too much of a thrust to weight ratio. So this is telling me our engine is too overpowered for the purpose that we have here. But we don't have smaller engines really. Certainly no lighter ones for liquid fuel. In that case we might increase this stage. And that now gives us over 3 kilometers, almost 4 kilometers. So this is insane, but this will be perfect for our needs. Let's see, can I reduce this to the basic kind of engine again? We do get this kind of adapter. Maybe that will look a little nicer. Yes, that's much better. And is there anything else I want to add here? Maybe like a reaction wheel. Actually what I can do is take this part away, put the reaction wheel there, and then move this whole thing up again, so it's built into the structure of this adapter part. Perfect. So now we know that will be alright as well. And I think obviously power is another thing. Now how can I make this look nice? Maybe I can just do it even like this. just move the batteries a bit down, but then at least it looks like the batteries are connected to the solar panels. Like that. Interesting, each solar panel has its own battery now. Right, so I'll just put it on hibernate again for warp, and our total payload is 3 tons. Now what can our rockets do again? What was the latest one? You see, it's been too long. It's the Paragon. Now I just have the Paragon 1B here. Good grief, it's been far too long, comrades. Let's just open the previously launched craft. Gladius 6 maybe. No, that's the wrong thing. It shows you again. It's too much other information in my head right now. It's not Excalibur, it's the Harmony. That's right, it's the Harmony thing. But now I don't need this kind of structure, I need the original again. So I think it is the one that we have here. Almost perfect. Although this won't have its own stage now. But we don't need it because the upper stage here has so much fuel on its own. So I don't need a shroud for that because it's built in here. Ish. Well, we have to redo it. I guess we do. Even that doesn't really help. I guess that's the best we're gonna get. But anyway, it's because of the adapter we're using on the bottom there, the FLA5. Then the other issue is we don't have anything to cover the probe itself with. Interesting, unless I just use the no, we'll have its own fairing installed, I think. We know we have the Delta V for that. Like this, and then it can just extend beyond that. Or it should anyway. Ah, this does work sometimes, but it's because it's clipping in there, but it's supposed to go beyond that. I have gotten it in the past to work, that it will build beyond this. Maybe it's the batteries that's the problem. Or we can just build it out. That will also work. Then we'll just put this on a very high ejection force, 2 sides clamshell deploy as I like to do, and now this one has disappeared again. And it's time to check our staging. Let's just put an auto strut on there. So those engines fire, then that separates, then that separates, then this fires. Now I guess I'll do this manually, or this should fire actually before we separate there. Alright. Right, comrades. Oh yes, there was a request also. Somebody asked me to put this craft on Steam. The problem is now we're using the various mods like Restock, and I'm not sure how that will affect the engines here. because I've used, obviously you get different choices with Restock. You get the bare one as well, not just the normal one, which has that big attachment plate on the bottom. But it might still work, so I think I'll do that. Alright, I'll do that as soon as we're done here. So, what is the name of this craft? This is going to be a specialist mission, so it's not going to be a pioneer. This has to be the first time we now use a name for moon missions. So now it's time to consult my list again. Right, comrades, I think I'm going to settle on Lumina. So this will be Lumina 1. Obviously I could go for Luna, but that name is taken, so I don't want to stay too close to the real thing. So Lumina is a nice one. So this is the first actual moon orbiter, so it's not just going to pass by like a pioneer. And so this is Lumina 1, and now of course the name of our comrade today. Right, so the name today is Axis Orex. Please forgive me if I am not pronouncing it right. You can guide me there, Axis Orex. But this is your mission, Lumina 1. So I'll save this, and we are going to launch this one, I think, from our main spaceport. Why not? We can start to make more use of it now. And here we are, comrades, back on the launch pad, and it's a lovely day for a launch. So let's do this. I will see you in orbit, comrades. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Right, almost to orbit with this one stage, comrades. Perfect. Of course it doesn't have a parachute, so that tells me it was a slightly older version. But anyway. Right, and we're in orbit. So, this is our first probe launch, I think, from this particular launch site. So now, let's just have a look. Stage was destroyed. There was a bit of a rough separation on that initial stage with the engines, and of course that also doesn't have the parachutes on it. I need to launch with the more up-to-date versions, but anyway, let's plan this thing. Right, moon set as target. And we'll just do a standard approach. It doesn't matter what our particular approach orbit will be, because I'm going for a polar orbit around the moon. So even that will be perfectly fine. So let's just prepare for this. And go to the map, next, and warp to next maneuver. And this takes us about a minute away. And 3, 2, 1, ignition. There we go. On our way. There's our first stage in a decaying orbit. Really, it's a ballistic trajectory. Right, Kerbal Engineer is not active. Our clocks are still there. 91 days for Duna. We're gonna make so much money, comrades, on this mission. We're gonna be rolling. They're gonna see us rolling, so they're hating, you know. Right, and what does this give us? It gives us an encounter. It's actually a direct impact, but that's fine. We'll make changes on our way there. Just turn so we get some good sunlight, and let's go. Right, we crossed the sphere of influence. So, let's prepare the plan for the polar orbit. Better, of course, the further away you are, or the farther away you are. Slow down. Right, doesn't have to be absolutely precise, but just a nice polar orbit. Now I can add more speed to this, or actually that's not what I want. Just something like that. That gives us 15. Perfect, we'll work with that. Just get into position for that. And go. Almost missed that, but it doesn't matter so much. There we are, so at least we're on a nice trajectory. We've almost completed the orbit. It's still a little too fast, so we'll escape again. We just need to slow down at periaps around 10 kilometers. And close approach now. Retro and burn. We are the first to get into an orbit around the moon. Right, so now we've already passed the periaps, so it's just gonna keep dropping now. What if I burn upwards? No, wrong way. Downwards? Yes. 13. Okay, now we need to think about this business here. Let's just clear this, and this. The upper stage was destroyed, or the main stage of the booster. A stable orbit has been achieved. Mission Control is still debating the best way to get you back home. You packed a toothbrush, right? Luckily probes don't need toothbrushes. And we entered the orbit of the moon, so the government gives us a nice fat subsidy right there. Now, for this one, we need spaceflight below 10.3 and below again 10.3. So let's just get into an orbit under 10.3 for now, and then we can complete those requirements, and then we'll raise our orbit again for the other ones. We'll go for 10. Now in this case there's going to be a lot of time warping and jumping back to the tracking station, because you can't warp fast in low orbit. So I'll have to speed that part up. That's good enough right there. But basically the whole point is now you wait until the various sites cross underneath your orbit and then take the measurement and transmit it. Luckily our orbit is almost exactly along the direction of movement of the moon, so we'll stay in communication the whole time. But that will change quickly. This is a 0.1 second burn. So I should adjust the thrust limiter. Right, 0.0, an absolute beauty. 9.9 by 100. So there we are. Now it's time to just make sure I know which sites I need to target. So there's so many of them now, but of course it won't work if it's, well, it does tell us, so that's one thing. Above. We're not going to get anything on this side now. Fastest I can go is 50 times. And 10 right there. So those are both above, so they're not going to work right now. They are also both above, so we have to wait for this cluster right here. Below, etc. So comrades, I'm going to skip this so you don't have to wait. And I'll just go to the tracking station, wait until it gets underneath us, and then jump back. Right, on this pass we'll probably get some of these targets. Only 10 times again. But there's one right there, and I think we will be in line with that. Right, entering the sector, jump back, log the temperature, and that's it. We don't have to transmit it, but I'll do it anyway. Just because otherwise it's kind of breaking the immersion. You just delete the data again, overwrite it over and over. But they want the data, even if it doesn't give us any science value directly. We've entered another area, but that's above. Can I take this one? Yes, I can. Transmit that as well. Below and below. We might have to come around again for this one. In fact, we will definitely have to. And for this one. Oh well. Any others? Below. Alright, so the next one is down here. And we're almost there. Right, stop immediately, jump back, log the temperature and transmit that data immediately. Also just make sure we are getting enough sunlight. And the next one is there, but I think that's too far away. Yes. Right, comrades, so what I'm going to do now is I'll complete all of these below missions, and then I'll get back to you, and then I'll complete all the above missions again. This will take some time. Comrades, we're at our last target. Let's log the temperature. Transmit that. We've completed all the contracts. Good grief, that did take a while. It's been 5 days in the game. But this should have given us a huge fortune. So let's go through our messages here. Yes, you can see 18 million for one. So all these were completed. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. Good grief. This was a hugely profitable mission. Thank you, Comrade Axis Aurex. This was tremendously fantastic. I also think while we're here, we might raise our orbit and do some scanning with KerbNet. Now this is just the basic KerbNet access. It doesn't tell us a lot of information about biomes or anything. But we might find some mysteries here. So I'll have a look at that. First thing is just to raise our orbit again. I'm not exactly sure how high is the limit for KerbNet. But I think just so we can time warp a lot faster. Maybe around 30 kilometers or even 50 with a high field of view. That will help as well. 50, we'll try that. So I'll complete this orbit, comrades. See you in a moment. Oh dear, well, we seem to be out of range right now, so I can't do anything. We'll have to wait. And now we are back in range again. So I'll have to use the radial buttons for this. Doesn't have to be too precise. Right, that'll do, comrades. Now let's do some scanning. I also like to imagine that right there is a camera. So we've also been doing nice and detailed mapping of the surface of the moon for the first time while I was waiting for the temperature scans. Right, KerbNet access. Now for this I have to say I don't normally use KerbNet a lot, so this is a learning experience. Right, so we do want it to refresh as well and then see if we can find anything strange, because this won't help to give us any biome information. So it's really just any anomaly readouts. Right, so I think we can go relatively no more than 50, I suppose, because in those few seconds we move a lot. Maybe too much. Well, I think as far as I understand this KerbNet business, we have a certain percentage chance of detecting anomalies every day. So it's not a guarantee. I just want to see if we see anything. We pretend we're doing mapping now, like with ScanSat. Seeing various features on the terrain. This is all valuable data from our orbiter program. Whoops, oh, phew, I was giving me a heart attack here. Why does it go like this? Obviously we're out of range. Right, back again. Are we still refreshing? No, it wasn't. There's a nice crater. I have to say I'm really excited about the way the moon looks in KSP2, at least the snippets that we've seen. And I don't mean the trailer, I mean there's the pre-alpha gameplay that they show landing on the moon as well, with the rocks casting very nice shadows and everything just looks so much better. I can't wait for that. And we're interrupted again. I don't think we're going to see anything right now. It's going to be again another waiting game, I'm afraid. But we'll just see, maybe we get lucky. We already know about many of those features like the Armstrong Memorial because we've been there in the past. But still, stop. Every time it loses a signal it stops refreshing. I doubt we'll see anything now. Well, at least we're getting lots of information about the topography of the moon. And we're offline again. No, I think we'll return to Lumina 1 in the future, comrades. For now, I think I'll conclude this episode. I'm still not all there yet after the Friday class. It's a whole day story, as I said. My lectures were right at the start of the day, but I was involved for the rest of the day as well. And it just takes it out of you, totally takes it out of you. Anyway, really interesting, and I'm so happy that I had the chance to do that. And I met some nice future colleagues. I'm sure we'll publish together as well. And yes, I also mentioned the paper that I did about video games, and one of the people, I think she was from SANSA as well, South African National Space Agency. She was really interested in video games for educational purposes. So I said she should contact me, so I will expect her at some point and possibly we'll work together as well. Anyway, I think I'll conclude. Let's just go back to our master plan, but first back to the Space Center. So Comrade Axis RX, this mission netted us a total of... Wow, that's $900 million, basically. We sat on 600, right? 600 and something thousand Kerbal bucks. We're at 1.5 million now, so obviously in my imaginary world it's $1.5 billion. So we're now in the billions. We're a wealthy space agency, relatively speaking, anyway. Right, I just want to see before we move on what is going on here. Bring green sandstone back with you. We don't even know about green sandstone yet. A satellite around Kerbin. We always take this kind of contract. This is a good money maker for us. Commercial satellite launches. Just ask Elon Musk. Disney? No, I don't think so. I wish I knew their skills as well, because then I could make more informed decisions about who I want to rescue. Landing gear in flight, come on now. R&D, do I really have to do a landing gear test in flight? Should I take this? Maybe. If we're ever flying with a landing gear, I can test that. Skipper, liquid fuel at the launch site. This might be a little early for that. And these tourists all want to pass out. I don't know if I should encourage that sort of behavior. But we can consider next time. Let's just go to the astronaut complex. Nobody here stands out. Maxbury. Erden is very smart. Courage. Ronfell is super courageous. Maxbury as well. But we have enough of a staff right now. So let's go to the master plan. Right, so we can tick off a few things here. Just get my big green line again. Lunar probe was a success. Lunar orbiter was a success. The Lumina 1 probe was a success. Mapping of the surface of the moon, level 2. We've done the level 1 by our flyby, so this is level 2 mapping, as we saw with KerbNet. Study of the structure of the moon, level 2 as well, same thing, studying the topography and level 1, but we already have level 1 from our impactor. Just helps to explain kind of the rationale for doing all the things we're doing. So we're basically out of issues here. We should do a docking next time, or a more duration mission with EVAs, I think. Possibly. But comrades, I'll see you then. Thank you as always for your patience and your support. I will see you tomorrow and we can get back to a more regular scheduled programming again. Have a fantastic week ahead, comrades, and keep your stress low. Stress is a killer. Remember that. Well, I should also remember that, but anyway. See you soon, comrades.